I am back from Wales, fully recovered. Only my ego has got a little scratch. But I feel like we need to chat. What a race this has been. Wales was the biggest adventure, and what a massive challenge. As you know, I didn't have it in me on Sunday, and that's totally fine. I'm honestly not mad about it. I feel more grateful that I can take part in these challenges and that they challenge the hell out of me, and now I actually have something to look forward to do another time in my life, because I haven't accomplished it yet. And I'm so proud and happy how far I pushed, how well I did in these circumstances. So yeah, let's get into it. I would say Orga-wise, Wales is pretty similar to Kalmar, and there is no airports pretty close to it. So we flew into Bristol on Friday, and then we took a rental car for about 3 hours into Saundersfoot, which is the village next to the start line.
Almost 2 a.m. We made it. We're in Saundersfoot.
And what I didn't even know is that the biggest climb of the whole race was like right in front of the door of my Airbnb. And then we arrived in Wales and the weather was not it. It's been pouring. It was absolute nightmare. That it even was a challenge to set up the bikes and get them there and have everything organized because of that heavy rain. And I didn't have high hopes. I was like, okay, if that's gonna be the weather conditions, there is no chance I'm gonna make it. We're about to go to transition and check in everything. It's raining cats and dogs. I don't even want to go outside. So we're just sitting in the car for half an hour and waiting for it to be over, but it's not gonna be over because simply I'm just gonna freeze my ass off. I can't survive this cold. I've never trained in these conditions. I don't have the material for it, but yeah, I was like, well, whatever's gonna happen, we're just gonna try it, right? So we get into Tenby, which is a lovely small Welsh village. They have the Ironman village there. Everything is perfectly organized as always. We did the bike check-in, we got the bags, and that was the whole Saturday, right? We only always have one day to set everything up. Luckily, the bikes were not damaged from the transport. We got into Tenby, and then I met the lovely Quintana Road team because they got me a 34 cassette in my TT bike. As you know, I was very insecure which bike to take, and I went for the TT with the condition that I can use a bigger cassette. But I was already exhausted from the day, from the weather conditions. I was soaked. We did like a little test drive with the bike, and we even did a test swim. And that test swim, it felt pretty horrible. I think one of my biggest problems in swimming is that I get claustrophobic, which doesn't improve my technique when I can't see anything, and that's really hard on my mind. For dinner, we just cooked dinner in our Airbnb. I was not in the mood to really go out and do stuff, and we had an early sleep. Race morning! We got up at 4:45. We had breakfast. I had some Biscoff and some white bread and some snacks. And Roger is always very supportive with my Instagram that I'm doing in the morning. 45 minutes before our swim start was the time we arrived in transition, which is fine for me because I don't want to be too early and just freeze my ass off. And the weather was much better, but it was very cold. So I was wearing my wetsuit. I had a sweater over the wetsuit. I sorted my stuff, I checked my nutrition, and then we went down to the swim start. The swim start in Tenby is a massive, beautiful coastline, and you walk down the cliffs. It's quite the walk. There is 1 kilometer from swim exit to T1 that you're gonna have to run when you get out. We were queuing with the people to get down on the cliff. Mood was great. It was very cold though. I was already insecure with the temperature. I was a bit terrified because I knew how hard that was gonna be for me. Guns went off. Everyone was running out. And I'm gonna be very honest because this is a part that I didn't love about the race. The swim was rough. The sea was pretty rough. It feels like a little bit like a washing machine, but what honestly bothered me the most was the men. And I love men, I love mixed races, but 5 years of triathlon, I've never seen that many men just punch me and swim over me and be incredibly brutal, because usually when you swim into a person, you're like, oh, sorry, and you just keep swimming, right? They were just like elbows, people above me, people pushing me underwater. I was like, hey, don't drown me already, right? And that was ongoing for the whole race. I don't even know why like the crowd hasn't left. It felt like I was still in the crowd and I was fighting for my life for these people to just stay afloat. And because of that, I didn't really get to swim. I was looking for Roger, I was looking for the people around me, I was just trying to hold a line. Then you got the sea just washing you around. That's been incredibly tough, and this is like a message to my dear men. Be a little bit kinder to the women in the race. We don't have your physical power, we're like much smaller. Please look out for us on the swim. Overall, I quickly ran into my first big issues of the day that really killed the mood a little bit. So first one was expected, of course, jellyfish. And I don't usually swim in the sea because we only have a lake here in Zurich. And I don't know what I expected because the jellyfish in Kalmar was nice. There was jellyfish, but you couldn't feel it. You could just see it and it was wobbly. The jellyfish in Wales is fucking painful. And I ended up having one sitting on my nose, in my face, right after the second buoy. I was so in panic and didn't really expect it that I kept like breaststroking. I was like, was that a jellyfish on my face? And I was very reluctant to keep swimming and get my face back in that water. And I forced myself and I started crying. I was so uncomfortable. I kept going on and Roger was like checking for me. And over the course of the 4 kilometers, I had like 4 or 5 more encounters with my hands, my feet, everything was touched by the jellyfish and the pain didn't go away. And I might be a sissy and of course this didn't break the day, but then again, it's really annoying to have like your face and your feet and your like hands burning all day. It's really unnecessary. And then again, because I didn't bring any lube, I really burned my neck, also my arms. So overall, that was pretty uncomfortable. And that led me to my second massive issue of the day. I had diarrhea in my wetsuit. And I don't think it was breakfast because obviously having done 70 marathons, I know my breakfast. I haven't had anything risky in the days before. There was a water quality warning with sewage in the water, which might have had been an issue, or was it my stress levels? I had to stop swimming because of the diarrhea. Like I couldn't move my legs anymore. Very uncomfortable situation, not gonna lie. And also that really kept me from actually getting into a flow of swimming because how fucking gross was it? And then we finished the second lap, we got out of the water. Roger was with me the whole time. And then you could hang a bag with your running shoes, and then I just put on the running shoes with the wetsuit on, and then you had a 1 kilometer run uphill, people everywhere cheering. T1 took me 23 minutes for the running, the shoes, T1, getting to the bike and getting on the course with the bike. Also in T1 I really took my time to think about what I'm gonna wear. I brought many layers. I knew it wasn't like possibly not raining that day, but the wind was very cold, so I put on arm covers, leg covers and a light rain jacket. I was running with that all day pretty much. I just never really got comfortable temperature wise. So we got off on the bike. I knew there was a loop to the left and then 2 loops to the right. So we had 3 loops and we had 2,700 meters of elevation, which is the most elevation I've ever possibly attempted in my whole life. But I thought we're taking it slow. I got the 34 cassette and we started pedaling. And honestly, the first round wasn't too bad. Roger was complaining because he had problems with his gear shift. So yeah, we sort of just stick together. And I thought I'm gonna start slow, which may have been not the best decision because then you have more hours on the bike. And even the elevation on the first lap wasn't too bad. It was hilly, but nothing major. But yeah, my face burns, right? My hands are burning. They kept swelling from the jellyfish, so I kind of had like not the best time holding on to the bike. And then road quality was a bit bumpy. I was really holding onto that bike with my dear life. But because like the downhills were like wet and a bit technical, very sharp turns and also very steep sometimes, I didn't really get to really speed up at any point. I wanted to do 40, 50, I did 25, 30 maybe downhill. I did 8 to 10 kilometers per hour uphill, and obviously that's not going to be enough for an Ironman, right? You have to move. So we finished the first lap, we got into the second lap and I felt already very exhausted, the day, the stress, but I kept pushing, I kept fueling. I was eating gels religiously every couple of minutes. I was really like trying to push it, trying to force myself, but I got so tired over the hours. At some point it was hard for me to keep my eyes open, even though I already had like 4 or 5 caffeine gels and I didn't really know what to do. And we got to our Airbnb, right, like a steep climb. They call it Heartbreak Hill. It's 22% uphill. And there was 2 of them that you had to do twice, so you had like 4 major, massive climbs. And I'm so grateful I was able to experience that. I feel like the whole city was there cheering for you uphill. You had like this small path and people right and left are drinking and partying and pushing you and screaming at you. So I made my way uphill, 200, 300 meters elevation, I don't know, but steep, like 22%. Some people had to get off. Roger had to get off at some point because his gear shifting didn't work. Somehow I managed to push myself up there. And I feel like end of the second lap, that was it for me. I could feel my energy was vanishing. Diarrhea all day, the panic in the morning, the cold weather. Winds were massive. We had side winds, so my bike was jumping, holding on, and we had headwinds. Are we moving? I don't know what we're doing. So we came towards the end of the second lap. You know, I dropped out at 150. I knew we had 30 kilometers steep uphills. I wasn't feeling my best. I was shaky, I was tired, and I clearly knew I was not gonna run a marathon that day. I could 100% feel it inside of me in this shape today. And also I'm going to Kona in 3 weeks, but I was 100% sure I didn't have any energy left in my body. And that's okay because it's Ironman and there are so many factors playing into race day. You can't always control them all, and that's fine. And then Roger stayed with me. Because of his gear shift, he was pretty tired as well. So we always compare. We have a number scheme when we train together and when we race together. It's like how fit are you from 1 to 10. So if you compare it to Kalmar, I was a 10 for a long time, and I was even a 7 when I went off the bike. That's how fit I felt in Kalmar, right? I was a 7 out of 10 on the run, and I went down to like a 5 out of 10 in the last 5 kilometers, but I was still like a 5 out of 10 for the whole Ironman. And on Sunday, when I got off the bike, I gave myself a 1.2. I was like, this is it, Roger. Like, I can't go on today. And he was a 3 out of 10. Like, he wasn't feeling much better than me. We dropped out. We had lovely volunteers helping us get back to the village, and I had a super emotional moment. So they got us out of the car, and we had to walk back to transition. And there was a line of people clapping for us. Like, people had like a standing ovation for us for trying. That was really emotional. Didn't plan on crying again today, but here we are. So yeah, we got back to the village and we could not do the checkout yet because transition wasn't open. So we just went and grabbed pizza and we sat like next to the run course. DNF. Very tired, ready for bed. Let's try again another time. And I was so happy we were not out there. I told Roger, like, this is not it for us today. It's a brutal run course mentally. 4 rounds, uphill, asphalt, freezing temperatures. It was wet and cold. It had maybe, 7 degrees. Your body is exhausted. We had this lovely barbecue chicken pizza. I loved it. And we watched the people run. Fuck. I have so much respect for everyone on this day attempting it, starting off, doing this bike course, doing this run that was mentally like probably one of the toughest marathons mentally that I've seen in my life, because Ironman marathons are not city marathons. It's not the morning, there's not a billion people cheering, and you don't have a scenic route somewhere in a nice city. Most of the distance you don't have any people cheering anymore at that time where I'm finishing, right? Like maybe at the finish line. It was not it, bestie. It was not it. I'm so happy and grateful we made it back safely. Yeah, I mean, will I come back to Wales? Absolutely yes. I'm gonna do this race one day. I know what to expect now. I'm gonna be prepared much better. I'm gonna bring like Vaseline for your face to cover for the jellyfish stings. The diarrhea is nothing under my control, right? I know more about the hills now. I'm gonna incorporate more elevation training, which I haven't really had now. And I thought it was super interesting to see that even though like I'm in the shape of doing Ironmans are not the same. There are so many different types of Ironmans out there, so many different levels of difficulty, so many different surroundings and characters of races. I think that's so amazing that you can really find your race and something that fits your personal taste and your like level of fitness. It's so cool for me that I get to go back to Wales and attempt it again. How cool is that?